Today is January 16th. It is a good day. For me, it is appearance day of my spiritual master. So I would like to give pranams to my spiritual master today. It's his appearance day. May he bless us, may he show us the light, and may he speak through me. Thank you, Sudevi. That was a very nice lecture, as always. I'm going to go back and review what we did last time so that we're actually following all the lessons we are supposed to be teaching you, just to make sure everybody gets it. And I know most of you practice yoga, so you do, but some of you don't. So just in case. Okay. योगेन चित्तस्य पादेन वाचं मलं शरीरस्य च विद्यकेन यपो करोतं प्रवरम मुनीनां पातांजलिं pranjaliranatosmi. So that is Rishi Patanjali. Rishi Patanjali is an avatar, which here in United States they say avatar, but it's avatar, reincarnation of Shesha. Shesha is the big, I don't know if you've ever Googled Vishnu or Patanjali. It's, Vishnu is the protector, and he is lying down on Ananta Shesha, which is actually an asana, a pose as well, called Anantasana. So he's lying on this Ananta Shesha, which is like a giant snake with many heads, and that's his bed. So Patanjali is a manifestation, an avatar of Ananta Shesha. So we are giving he's the father of yoga, and so we are giving our pranams and asking him to bless us. Yeah, let us bow before the noblest of sages, Patanjali. He's also called Adishwara. Here, Adishwara actually means Shiva. Shiva taught first the science of Hatha Yoga. So one thing, like I told you as we go along, we'll do a lot of Sanskrit. It is not Hatha Yoga, it is Hatha Yoga. So it's a very strong ter sound. So when you think of Indian accent, Hatha, Hatha, Hat Yoga, Hat Yoga. It's not even yoga, it is yoga, Hat Yoga. So if you look at the textbook of yoga, really one of the textbook amongst many, one of the most important for Hatha Yoga is Hatha Yoga Pratipika. So very first shloka starts with saying that the yoga asanas that were manifested by Shiva, who's also called Adi Ishvara, the first Ishwar, and the poses that were set by Shiva are the poses of Hatha Yoga. And you will, once you go deeper into all of this, you'll realize there's a lot of additions that have been done in the modern world. Not to say that additions that have been done are a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It's just the original, which was started by Shiva, there were certain poses. Unfortunately, not everybody can do those poses. So sometimes those little additions are necessary to get us there. All right, let's go back and rewind. So we all did the definition of yoga therapy, the definition of yoga, the purpose of yoga, and we did yama and niyama in the last class. So very quickly in the chat window, let's talk about what is the definition of yoga. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows this also. Let me just, what I'll do is I'll mute everybody, and if anybody wants to speak, or you can put it in the chat too, whatever works. What is the definition of yoga? Anybody? Which is coming from which word, Cliff? Thank you. It is coming from the word yuja. It is coming from the word yuja. Yuja means to yoke, to. So the process of yoga is what? That means anything that leads us to the union of body, mind, spirit to who? To divine. It is the union by the process by which we reach the divine. So it's union of BMS, I'm just body, mind, spirit, to reach divine. So everything that includes our yamas and niyama, asana, and everything that is in it, any process, that's why you will see there is bhakti yoga, there is hatha yoga, there is dhyana yoga, there is kundalini yoga, there's kriya yoga, because they're all different processes that are helping us reach the divine. That's what it is, which is samadhi. So when you reach samadhi, you reach divine. So it is actually a body, mind, spirit practice, and ultimate aim is you don't even reach in one lifetime. It takes many, many lifetimes. And usually in United States or in the Western countries, we actually go for a yoga class. And Henry, you've been to India, right? So tell me how yoga is different in India. It's really different. How we do it, how we approach the teachers. Asana is not that important. It is only 1/8 and so on. But, it's a whole process. Now, what is the difference between yoga and yoga therapy? Anybody? Anybody? Let's look at the chat. No one? Yoga therapy is the use of any part of yoga. Okay, here's someone who's writing. Yes. So yoga therapy's use of a certain part of the 8 limbs of yoga, which can include anything, just pranayama by itself, or chanting, or one asana, very, very specific and customized to the issue, and is usually never in a group setting, is usually customized and it's one-to-one. So you're using whatever is possible. For example, what I practice, and the only reason I went and did a yoga teacher training course here, so I could, of course, get my Yoga Alliance thing, is so that I could tell my Ayurvedic clients what yoga poses they needed to do and what time of day and how they needed to do it. And that's all I do. I mean, I don't take yoga classes, but I teach yoga to every single one of my clients. 1 or 2 asanas, or at least pranayama, or at least meditation, or at least using the yam niyama as part of the everyday routine. Is, I use yoga therapy as a tool in my Ayurveda practice. And I've been doing it for years and years and years, and, thousands and thousands of clients, but I do not teach a yoga class. Does it make sense? Because it's very specific. I have a pitta person, she's in menopause, she's getting hot flashes. So let's not do hot yoga. Let's try and do yoga early in the morning, on the evening. Make sure you're wearing white color at that time. Things, and then asanas, do the twists, do this kind of Shitali breathing to start with, and things like that. So it's a very, very specific, and also specific to the person's age and issue and so on. So purpose of regular yoga is to become one with God, and it's a spiritual purpose. The definition of yoga therapy's purpose is not spiritual. Most of the time when people are approaching you for yoga therapy, it is for an ailment they are looking for. For example, I get headaches, what can I do? Or my knees hurt, or I am stiff in my back and I've heard yoga is good. What to speak of that? I have, my son's violin teacher told him, you should do yoga, it'll be good for your violin playing. I was very surprised that he told him that. So there's a therapy is just like a physical therapy helps a person who's kind of on their feet. So therapy is a completely different ball game than the yoga class you and I go to, or some of you actually teach in a group setting. It is a completely different ball game. And of course, we touched on the yama and niyama in the last class. So we did the yama. Today we explained the yama, she explained the niyama, and so we're going to go a little bit in detail and talk about asana and how we are going to use asana for a client. So if you're an Ayurvedic counselor, how are you going to use asana? And if you're already a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist, how are you going to use asana as a tool? That's what we're going to talk about just a little bit. I have a very small lecture today. And for those of you who do not know, we will talk about the difference between vinyas, hatha, and basic yoga. You would notice I will not use the word vinyasa because it is not vinyasa, it's vinyas. Hatha, yoga, yoga, yoga. Okay, so this is Sudevi, beautiful picture. Asana literally in Sanskrit means to sit firmly and comfortably. So in Hindi, or if you go to India, when you go somewhere, they will say, oh, bring asan, and let the person sit on the asan, meaning they should sit comfortably. So it doesn't mean contorting yourself. The aim and objective of the story is sthira sukham asanam. A position that you can sit in comfortably without pain is called an asan. And this is Patanjali Sutra 246. Asana is a steady, comfortable posture. So why do you need to know this? Because if you're going to do, let's say, as an Ayurvedic practitioner or counselor, you're going to tell your client to do 1 or 2 asanas as part of their daily routine or whatever. And most probably either people get scared because they can't do it because it's the images in the media and what they show, contorting yourself, that not everybody can do it, or they think they have to compete, look, I can touch my toe, look, I can put my leg. No, but that's not what you're supposed to do. If it makes you uncomfortable, then it's not an asana. So we need to approach it from here. Wherever they can sit firmly, wherever the position that they're comfortable with. I mean, for example, I'm a kapha and I'm wide-hipped. And I go to some classes and then they'll tell you, put your feet together and push them towards each other and together. And that's very uncomfortable for someone. And it actually can harm someone who is either bone-kneed or has problem with the knees or even with their hips. So we don't know. And for example, doing a forward bend for some people who have scoliosis or a spinal deformity or even a slight spinal deformity, lordosis. So I have a client who has mild lordosis in her back. I myself have mild lordosis in the back. So I cannot do Shavasana without actually putting a pillow on my spine. So the normal rules do not apply to anybody because everybody's body is different. Trying to do, someone who is small in size, the way they do a downward dog, it has to be smaller. The difference between the length between their legs and their hands has to be smaller, and they cannot do it as a tall person, right? Because our bodies are different. So asana for each single person, vata, pitta, kapha, body type, age, strength is going to be different. That's why the yoga therapy is going to customize it for everything. Does it make sense? So I am absolutely amazed by teachers who do group classes. I can't do it because I actually get really, really nervous when I had to do my yoga teacher training. Doing a group class, because I saw, oh my God, this person has high blood pressure, that person has shoulder issues. How do you even, challenge an entire class? So that was a little scary to me because I want to know everything. I want to err on the side of caution. But yeah, the small, where it's just meet with one person, I mean, that's amazing. Does it make sense to you? So asana, in this sense, when you're an Ayurveda counselor, you're giving an asana to someone, it has to be something that's comfortable. Now, if you're already a yoga teacher, you're probably already really good at that. If you're not, you can also suggest that they can go find a yoga teacher, and or they can even go online, or you can show them very gently, and they should not hurt anything. So asanas were developed to aid in sitting in quiet meditation because the aim and objective of asana is to eventually meditate, and the mind should not go here and there. What happens the minute you sit down and you close your eyes? The mind chatter begins and it goes here and there. The aim and objective of asana is that your mind is one with breath and is controlled, and you can go into a state of trance and meditate. That's the aim and objective. So keeping that aim and objective in mind, the idea is, you sit in asana and sit as long as you can, and then you move on to the other. And that's how um, I started practicing when I was 8 or 9 years old in school. And we actually used to have a yoga teacher in school, and we actually used to take tests. And we would just move from one asana to another and sit in asana as long as we were comfortable. And then the teacher would ring a bell. Now we are ready to go in another asana. There was no guided meditation, nothing. It was just the sound of the teacher's voice, a little bell, and 200 students all on the little mat. That's how we did it. Yeah. Benefits of yoga. Well, that's Sudevi for you. She's super flexible. That's another beautiful pose. Improved flexibility, improved strength, balance, stress and anxiety, and so on and so forth. Having said that, I think the most important benefit of yoga, and when we say yoga, the flexibility and the strength is only done, achieved by pretty much asana. Everything else, let me just annotate this. This is asana. I'm just going to write A here. So 1, 2, 3, yes, you get that by doing asana. But everything else, all the other benefits of yoga, which would be 1, stress and anxiety, energy, fatigue, sleep disturbance, hypertension, can be achieved by pranayama. And for this particular, you're not in front of us, and we cannot actually, have a person. We might do it when you guys come in for the July internship, if you do. But pranayama is what we want you to use most. And pranayama will help reduce stress and anxiety. And those of you who've been in the Manasa class with me, we've been talking about how pranayama and meditation is one of the top tools of an Ayurvedic counselor. It is your top tool for all mental disturbances, for stress, anxiety, postpartum depression, PMDD, whatnot. It's one of the top things, pranayama. Asana is number 2. Pranayama followed by meditation. And how do you get to meditation? Just like when I teach meditation, I tell my clients, just like our body needs to warm up before we do exercise, we stretch before, or we run before we start stretching, we stretch before we start running, we need a warm up. Our mind also needs a warm up. What is a mental warm up? Breathing exercises are mental warm up. Now that the mind is warmed up, then you can go to the doorway of meditation. Does it make sense? So this is T. Krishnamacharya, and you can see he has the Vaishnav Ramanujacharya's on a symbol on his head. And he was I would say, the modern teacher. And every yoga that has developed in the world has actually come from him, because all of them were his disciples, from Indira Devi to Patabi Joyce to Iyengar. All of them were his disciples, and they, he gave them different types of yogas to practice according to their body, according to, Patabi Joyce started the Ashtanga Yoga, Iyengar started the Iyengar Yoga, Indira Devi taught a different type of yoga, and so on. And then, and of course, he was an Ayurvedic practitioner. He was a Pandit of Vedas. He was a Pandit of yoga. So he did add a little bit of things that were not part of the yogic texts, but he basically revived it. He revived yoga because it had died, really. And of course, the way he was teaching it was part of Shakti Krama or Shikshana Krama, meaning it was a practice. The word Krama means it's a practice. One, you first do step 1, then you do the step 2, then you do the step 3, 4, 5, and 6. And he was also doing Rakshana Krama, which is basically for therapy. So there's a lot of Sanskrit words here. This is very example. I found this picture online, and so basically this is a physical therapist in the Navy, and here is a soldier who's getting some yoga. And I just thought that was so fantastic that they're actually using yoga therapy in the armed forces for restoring soldiers. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? So, that's why I chose this picture. So let me just write things down. Yukta Shikshan means, think of it as step-by-step practice. Bheda means the difference in people, difference in their mindset, difference in their physical body. Bheda, Deha is the physical body. Kala is what time, meaning what time in their life. Is this the right time? For example, someone who's been injured. Let's say you know someone who was who could do all kind of poses and was a strong yoga practitioner, and maybe they had a little accident or they had a surgery. Now after the surgery, they're not strong enough. At this time, the kind of poses or kind of pranayam that they will practice would be a little different. So what time in their life, where are they at? What's their age? A child who's 10-year-old to a 20-year-old something, to a 70-year-old something would practice different kind of yoga, right? Vritti, what is their nature? For example, someone who doesn't like to sit still, it is better they do vinyas where it's a moving yoga. Someone who likes to sit still, maybe that kind of yoga is better. That's why we seek different teachers. We seek different classes. I refuse to go to classes where there's loud music. It drives me crazy. And I would rather just not have no music at all. But if there is going to be, it has to be really low sound, and I just want to hear the instructions and do my practice. There are some people, they don't like what is their nature? So what, they might not even like a pose. So when we are giving a couple of poses or meditation or pranayam, we have to consider the nature, the mindset of the person. Shakti, that is easy. The strength, what is their physical strength? Bala is also strength. It's given twice. Bala, Shakti both mean strength. Sometimes Shakti means internal strength. Bala is physical strength. Marga is, what is the path? What is the path in life? What is their aim and objective? What is it that they want from this yoga therapy session? Obviously, this guy here, and they're doing this, they're mostly interested, maybe they're trying to achieve some balance. Right? And this is the aim, because it's a physical therapist here. Does it make sense? Their aim and objective and path is, I just want to get better and go on. Their aim and objective is not spiritual, and that's okay. But when we give asana, it should be, that's what we should be considering. There are a couple of questions there. All right, there we go. Here's a nice vinyas. V in a special way, nyas, to place. To place in a special way. It does not say you have to go super fast anywhere, does it? For example, sun salutation is 12 poses, and it is placed in a vinyas, hands up, then forward fold, then one leg back, and so on and so forth. It is a vinyas, but you can go very slowly in a sun salutation. You don't have to go super fast, right? I mean, I was young, I could go fast, but then I became old and I was heavier, and I would always find I'm on the third pose and people have already gone to downward dog and finished it. So I was always playing the kapha catch-up, I call it, the kapha catch-up in class. That was fun. But yeah, when I'm teaching my client a sun salutation, I spend, like talking about the poses, the story behind the poses, and maybe, let's just do one sun salutation in the morning, and this is the speed. Sometimes I will even have a timer and time them so they can show me. And most of the times I teach them a sun salutation with a chair and like 4 blocks. And the idea is if they can do it, so first time they do 6, next time they come in, I'll add 6 more. Okay, so vinyasa is just simply, it's flowing from one pose to another. That means the way it is sequenced is good. If anybody of you dances or likes to dance, how if you're dancing, one movement flows in another, right? It's natural. So vinyasa should be placed in such a way that it's natural. The only vinyas that is mentioned in the text is the sun salutation. Anything else that's not mentioned there is probably coming down from maybe a guru who started it or who put it together and so on. And yeah, you guys can make your own vinyas if you like. But there are some poses that flow together. For example, warrior pose. And then, different warriors definitely flow together, for example. So there's a natural flow following that flow. But like I said, it does not have to go fast. Unless, it's a class and it's a 45-minute class or whatever. But we are not talking about a class. When you're giving and talking about with a singular person that you're going to give some asanas 2, 3, 4, 5, that's all. You can also place them in a sequence, do this one first followed by that one and so on. Okay, I think I talked a little bit about this. What is Hatha Yoga? Hatha means forceful. You have to force yourself a little bit. And the reason, if you look at the pictures of Hatha Yoga, I'll show you a couple of poses pictures. These are not like anybody can do. So if you were to divide the word Hatha, it comprises of both sun and moon. And the yoga part is union. And the sun represents the male side and moon represents the female side. Thinking of the, yin and yang. Think of yin and yang. The Purush and Prakriti, yin and yang, Shiva and Parvati. So think of that energy, the ball of energy, the male side of you, the female side of you. And, it's completely in balance, and its aim and objective is to yoke union with the divine energy. That's what the Hatha Yoga Pradipika is about. All right. What are basic asanas? It depends on who your client is, depends on what they can do, and depends on what you can teach. If you don't know what to do something, I normally would never teach a headstand because I haven't done a headstand in 20 years. So I know how to do it, I know how to teach it, but I believe if I can, I haven't done it in 20 years, so I can't. But things that I have done and I'm comfortable, I'll teach it. It also depends on what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable, you can just tell them, go to a yoga teacher, ask them, ask the yoga teacher to, teach you this. But you can ask at the end of the class. So one of the things when Krishnamacharya, in the line of Krishnamacharya, the physical part is important because it's tapas. But the preventative and philosophy part, and also making sure that we are not injuring anybody. Just to give you one example, there was another class I went to, and we were all doing some balancing. I refused to do it because I couldn't balance on one side of the foot, so I wasn't doing it on one side of the foot. And the teacher said, it's okay. If you fall, that's okay. The Mother Earth will catch you. And it wasn't, it was a hard floor. It wasn't even a wooden floor. And I'm thinking, yeah, if you fall down, you'll break your nose. If it was my class, I would always give them an option of going by and holding on to something. And first thing, you cannot have your client falling down and injuring themselves. Injury is not an option from a yoga. The whole point is to prevent injury. That's the thing. So even if you tell them, okay, you should go to a yoga class, make sure it's a restorative or a beginner yoga class, or make sure it's a yoga class where they're, using a lot of props. I just found a yoga class for one of my clients. He has osteoarthritis and he's had hip replacement. So I just sent him to a yoga class, which is a yoga class. It's called restorative yoga with props. They do very simple stuff using chair and a ball and, some fun props. And he loved it. And it was, all older people, and it was flowing very, and they had 4 teachers, and they're about 80 students. So he loved it. He was saying, oh, it's so good, you should come and join. The idea is that how I knew that was a good class for him, I actually went and did the class. So locally, there's about I think 7 or 8 studios around me. I've gone and taken a simple class with all of the studios, kind of to know what they offer. So if I'm telling them to go do a class, I can tell them that this one, this is what they offer. This is hot yoga. You don't want to be doing it. Does it make sense? Oh, there you go. That's another very, very beautiful picture. Any questions? So most of you, I think, already practice yoga, right? So maybe Patricia, you don't, right? Patricia, is there anybody who's not a yoga teacher? I know most of you are. Is there anybody who's not a yoga teacher? Okay, so do you actually go to a yoga class? Oh, but you have been practicing for a long time, Cliff, right? Because I remember you told us once, right? Yes-ish. Okay, yeah. So, I would suggest maybe you should try and find a. So remember, your yoga class is always about the yoga teacher. It's really not about the studio. So go and try a restorative or a beginner's class. And the reason why I'm recommending it is a beginner restorative class, they really focus on safety, which in the advanced classes, I don't know where the safety goes. So what kind of yoga have you done, Patricia? Do they do pranayam at end? So how do you like it, Antonia, the restorative? Do you like it? Yeah, it's my favorite as well. Even though it's not so good for kapha people, they should do a vinyasa. Yeah, so try it. Try it. I mean, if you have never done yoga and one of the things that you would be recommending to your clients in the future is you should go do some yoga, and then say what kind of yoga. You don't want them to let me stop recording.